Good morning, this is Dwayne, and today I'd like to start talking about chord progressions. We've covered all the major, minor, diminished, augmented 6th, 7th, major 7th, 9th, 11th, 13th chords, and we learned a little bit about music form and so on. I think we're ready to start talking about chord progressions. Now, a chord progression is simply the way chords typically move. Here's a chord progression. Does that sound typical? No, you don't hear that sound very often. It could happen. Any composer can do anything they want, but it's not a very typical chord progression. Here's another one. Again, not very typical. How about this? Whoa, that sounds familiar. And the reason it sounds familiar is because that, far and away, is the most used chord progression of all time. Because it's based on the first degree of the scale. In other words, the 1 chord, and the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. And they're the only major chords in a diatonic scale. Any other chord are minor, diminished. Okay, so they're the only major chords in the key. So if you're in the key of C, the only major chords are C, F, and G. So naturally, they're the ones that would occur the most. Do they have to? Of course not. Like I said, any composer can do anything he wants. But if you put all the songs ever written in a computer, in a blender, and figured out what the most common chord progression is, you would find that far and far away. There's literally thousands you can play with just those 3 chords in that chord progression. From 1 to 4 to 5, because every note of the C scale fits in one or more of those chords, doesn't it? In other words, C fits in the C chord, but it also fits in the F chord. D fits in the G chord. E fits in the C chord. F fits in the F chord. G fits in both the C chord and the G chord. A fits in the F chord. B fits in the G chord, and C fits in the C chord and the F chord. Okay, so every note of the scale fits into one of those 3 chords. So naturally, the most used chord progression of all time is simply 1, 4, 5. Okay, now it may go 1, 5, 1 sometimes, or 1, 4, 1 sometimes, but you're going to see those 3 chords used repeatedly. Okay, so if that's true in the key of C, it's also true in every other key. So let me just play a simple. Like I said, there's thousands of songs you can play in the key of C with those 3 chords, in other words, that chord progression. Here's just one. Okay, just those 3 chords. Okay, let's do it in the key of D flat. The scale of D flat goes like that. So if the 1 chord is D flat, the 4 chord is G flat, and the 5 chord is excuse me, A flat. In the key of D, the 1 chord is D, the 4 chord is G, and the 5 chord is A. So if you're playing in the key of D, the 3 most likely chords are D, G, and A, and the chord progression that's going to be used the most are those 3. In the key of E flat, that's the E flat scale, so the 1 chord is E flat, the 4 chord is A flat, the 5 chord is B flat. Okay, so if you're playing in the key of E flat, if you're in the key of E, the 1 chord is E, the 4 chord is A, and the 5 chord is B. If you're in the key of F, it's 1, 4, 5. If you're in the key of G, it's 1, 4, 5. Now I'm doing this rapidly because of the length of the time I have, but you'll have to take it slowly and work out each chord, each key. In the key of A flat, it's 1, 4, 5. In the key of A, 1, 4, 5. In the key of B flat, 4, 5. lots of blues are in. Are in the key of B flat, and the blues, of course, is built just around the 1-4-5 progression. So it's the oh-duh chord progression, the most logical chord progression of all. And the B, finally, the key of B, the 1 chord is B, the 4 chord is E, and the 5 chord is F sharp. Okay? So the most likely chord progression of all time is 1, 4, and 5. Okay? And so if you want to master one chord progression, master that one, because that's the one that's going to occur in the most possible songs. Now there's many other chord progressions, and we're going to cover a few of them in the lessons to come, but you ought to for sure memorize this chord progression and preferably do it in all keys, at least the keys you want to play in. Okay, that's it for today, and we'll see you again tomorrow with another piano tip. So bye-bye for now.